Hey there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Martin II Concert Ukulele. They were revived around 2019 or so, and this one popped up on the used market at a really amazing price earlier this year, and I had to buy it, knowing what this instrument was and knowing the price. And I haven't had a chance to review it yet. So before 2022 ended, I wanted to make sure that I took a moment to review this model. So what we're going to do in this model is we are going to talk about some subjective issues or some objective categories that I look at with all ukuleles. Then we'll look at the specifications, and then I'll summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating. The whole idea of the UkeGuide really came from the energy savings guides that come with appliances here in the United States, so you know how much energy you're using with an appliance. And there's a one-page summary available at ukestuff.info if you're interested in more. Also, if you want to support the channel here, there are three things you can do. You can like this video, you can subscribe to the channel, and you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thank you for making this content at buymeacoffee.com/ukestuff. All right, let's begin with the subjective issues. First of all, I don't know what the original price was. It could have been anywhere between $1,100 and $1,600. I can't find it. I've been searching. I'm just not going to spend any more time looking for it. What I can tell you is that I don't see any of these cheaper than $12.50 used generally on the internet. I bought this one for much less than that, so that's why I jumped at the chance to get it when I got it earlier this year. You can buy a brand new Hawaiian koa ukulele for the price of this used. So you're going to have to want a Martin ukulele in this style to spend that sort of money on it. So it is on the high end of the cost. Now, in terms of value, that is value. I mean, you can find them used for less, like I did. Good luck with that. But the going value is around that $1,250 on up. And the only thing that you get with it is a Martin gig bag. That's it. So you don't even get a hard case with it. And that's the value. The price is the value. Now, some people would probably say the price exceeds value, considering that you can buy solid mahogany ukuleles from other manufacturers. But do keep in mind, this one was made in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. It has the stamp in the inside to tell you that. And it also, by the way, has the other information right on the top of the neck block, very much like a Koloha, or even like, I believe the current Kamakas also are stamped there. So, you know, you are getting a solid mahogany, American-made instrument for that price. And as of today, there is one model that is sold, that is a mahogany model by Martin, that is approved by the FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council, that sells for $2,400, and it doesn't even have the binding, although it may have the sound hole transfer. I don't remember if that one does or not, the rosette. Now, you can buy the C1K for about $500, which is the Model 1 version of this. You can also buy the other instrument that I saw that would be very similar to this would be the 2K model, which is made out of koa and not mahogany, for about $1,700 today. So those are the ones you can buy. You can also buy the HPL, high pressure laminate concert, for, I think that one's around $300 new. Might be $400 new. I think it's $400 actually, now that I think about it. So you have the price point of $500, $400, $1,700, or $2,300 for concert ukuleles in US dollars. So as that goes, the value is actually pretty decent compared to $2,300 for the FSC version of this, but still, that's expensive. Now, in terms of build quality, this is going to be flawless. You have the beautiful Martin-shaped neck. It's a wonderful, wonderful neck to play. We'll get that in playability. As you look at it, it's flawless, and it should be right at that price. And very, very traditional Martin build, made in Pennsylvania. So very clean build. You're not going to find a cleaner build than this. and we're actually going to take a look here on the inside in just a moment. The one thing that I was surprised was to find out that it's not a single piece of mahogany, but it's two pieces of mahogany. And that doesn't bother me, and there's just a little strip of, I believe, binding between there, which is kind of a nice touch. But, you know, it was just surprising that it wasn't a single piece of mahogany all around the back, just at that price point too. So one of the things I like to do is I like to look at the inside of the ukulele. So let's go do that. I've got my endoscope here. I'll power it up, and we'll go take a look at the inside of the ukulele. Now again, before we go into the ukulele with the endoscope, just want to remind you that looking at the inside does not make an ukulele good or bad, but the care that it's built with does tell you a little bit about the construction and the overall quality of the instrument. So let's go take a look. Looking inside, there's your Martin stamp on the inside telling you that it's an American made in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. You've got your brace there on the back. As we look further, you see another brace, and then you see the inside. I mean, you can see that it's solid mahogany. You can see the clean construction, a little glue in a couple of spots, but really not many places. The hole there in the tail block is for the strap button that was installed by somebody. I need to put in a second strap button for the upper. And then you have just your notch kerfing. There's your bridge plate up there, very cleanly glued on. And the bridge plate even says Martin. That's pretty cool. Most people never get a chance to see that. All right, let's take a look at the upper bout of the ukulele. All right, looking at the upper bout here, there is the stamp on the inside giving you your serial number on the neck block. And if I scroll around here a little bit, you can see one of the braces there on the soundboard, the clean notch kerfing, just beautifully built. A slight hint of glue. Remember, we're very, very close at this point. Other than that, I mean, it's just a clean, classically constructed ukulele. All right, and that's our quick look at the inside of the Martin II Concert as we're looking at the neck block right there. So in terms of build quality, super clean, super well made. Attention to detail is amazing, and that's what you'd expect at the price point. In terms of appearance, it's actually pretty plain. You do get the binding, which is above and beyond what you'd get with sort of the Model 1. You don't get the other little treatments that you would with the Model 3 that's available. Those, I believe, are retailing for over $3,000, the Model 3. So basically, it's the same ukulele with a few more treatments on it. So with those things in mind, it's very plain, very traditional, very, standard Martin appearance. It sometimes would be nice to see something other than a transfer for a sound hole and a transfer for the name on the ukulele. Maybe an inlay with something at that price point. But it is traditional Martin at this point, and that's what they do. So very plain. In terms of availability, these are a little tricky to find. They're out there. You can buy them used right now, but you have to be willing to spend the money to buy it. Now, in terms of playability, this is close to perfection. The neck is wonderfully shaped. It's a 35 millimeter nut with wide string spacing, so it's like the best of both worlds. If you're used to playing sort of import ukuleles with a 35 millimeter nut, well, here you get that 35 millimeter nut, but the string spacing is pretty wide. It's a thin neck, really thin neck, especially up here where you play the majority of your chords. One of the questions becomes, if Martin was one of the original large-scale manufacturers of ukuleles, and it's still in business, and we've had a resurgence of ukuleles in the past 20 years, and there are Chinese companies just spitting out ukuleles, and they're copying so much of this. Why didn't they copy the neck? Why didn't they copy the neck? That's the question I think we need to ask. So it's an absolute joy to play. In terms of sound quality, it's that dark mahogany sound with a lot of power. It has brightness, it has lightness, there's harmonics, there's sustain. The longest sustain for me is on the low end. Have I heard ukuleles that sustain longer? Yes. Have I heard ukuleles that are louder? Yes. But if you're looking for a mahogany tone, this is the definition of that sort of tone. So the sound quality here is excellent. It's a little touch on the darker side because of the mahogany. but that's balanced by the Martin M600 strings that I think I put on. I think I'm pretty much sure that I replaced the strings when I bought this as well, and that would have been original equipment. Although, if Martin were to sell this today, they might sell it with their Polygut Next Step Up strings, which I have not tried. I like my Martin M600s. Sometime I'll try that next step up of Martin strings, but for now, this is what I'm happy with, and this is a gorgeous traditional mahogany sound. Very, very much highly recommended. Another one of the things I do in these videos is I let you see what I'm hearing. So I am going to use the app Tonal Energy Tuner to let you see what's happening with the harmonic energy with this instrument. So here we go. I play generally the C chord or G on a baritone, and I'll let you see what it's doing. Here we go. Still ringing. And what's interesting to me is that really Tonal Energy Tuner is picking up the low end of this instrument more than the high end. It's definitely ringing. Now it does have the high end as well as you're playing it, but that dark mahogany aspect is definitely there. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories, let's get into the specifications. It is a concert ukulele with a scale length from nut to saddle of 15.125 inches. There are 17 frets with 12 to the body. That's a little bit different than a lot of concerts on the market today that have the body meets the neck at the 14th fret. There are side position markers, so unlike a Kamaka that has one, on this one you get actually the marker at the 3, 5, 7, 10, and 12. And you almost don't need it at 12 because that's where the body is, and then also at the 15 as well. The traditional body style, double bout, as you'd expect. Soundboard, solid mahogany, back and sides, solid mahogany. Fretboard is rosewood, as is the slotted bridge, and the fretboard is a flat fretboard. It is not a radius fretboard. The nut and saddle are made out of black Graphtec, so you can see the nut there and you can see the saddle there, and it is, as you can see, a compensated saddle. Now, one of the things that's always confused me with that, to be honest, is that the C string compensation is shorter than the E string compensation. You would think that the C string would be longer than the E string, but that's how these Martins are set up. And by the way, if your saddle ever falls out and you need to switch it around, make sure that you're putting it back in with that most close face facing up on that C string so that, that's the way that it is originally set up with that. The finish is a flat satin finish, very traditional Martin. The overall length of the instrument is 23.375 inches, not counting the strap button, and it weighs 15.5 ounces. Super, super light. The tuners are Grover geared tuners, very high quality, but Martin purists will hate that because the original Model 2s had friction tuners. I've also seen some people put on UPTs, Goto UPTs on here, but these work really great, and the ears don't bother me personally. This does not bother me, although there are some ukulele players who get angry at this. I don't think it's worth getting angry. If you don't like it, go put on friction tuners or go put on UPTs. If you're spending that much on an ukulele, quite honestly, $80 for another set of UPTs that will work even better than friction tuners is a no-brainer, unless you're trying to keep this as a museum piece, which it really isn't. Yeah, it's not made anymore like this, but you never know when Martin might bring it back. And then also, it's not an original Model 2. And even then, maybe you wouldn't want the friction tuners and to put on UPTs just for sake of playability. But again, I don't buy instruments to just throw them in a case. I buy them to play them. And for me, this is wonderful. Wonderful tuners, but again, some people won't be happy. The action at the first fret is very low, 0.25 millimeters. Not sure where it was bought from originally. I am the third owner of this instrument. And the action at the 12th fret is 2.65 millimeters, which is just spot on, really for average setup, and it works great. And I'm just going to leave it there. The nut width is 35.03 millimeters, so very, very standard. But the string spacing is really wide. It's 9.53 millimeters between each string at the first fret, making it 30.14. So Martin is giving you very reduced space on the sides, and it's okay. It does not adjust my playability at all, and it gives you that little bit of extra amount of space on the fretboard to be comfortable. So I really, really like that. And then finally, the real kicker measurement here, more than anything else, is the depth of the neck. I just measure at the 3rd fret because it's a good place to measure. With that low action and with this narrow, wonderful neck, it's 18.33 millimeters from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck at the 3rd fret. That is really narrow. It's a really, really comfortable shape in the hand. And again, I ask the question, if this is the instrument that so many manufacturers are copying, why didn't they copy the neck? Copy the neck, copy the neck, copy the neck. That's the next major improvement in the world of ukulele, when we can stop having these really, really chunky C-shaped necks and get something more like this across the industry with even the entry-level ukuleles. That'd be wonderful. All right, now that we've talked about the specifications, let's summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating. Martin revised this model for 8 years, and I was able to buy this well cared for used instrument for an amazing price. This one was made in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and it's an example of Martin's extreme quality craftsmanship. Now, that is not criticizing the Mexican-made Martins. I've got an S1 from Mexico, and it's wonderful. It's brilliant. I've got an OXK Martin concert that I've not yet reviewed on this channel. It's excellent. The Mexican-made Martins are wonderful too, but there is something extra when you buy that American-made model. For certain, the cost, because again, manufacturing costs are more in the US than it is in Mexico. So there is something to be said there. And if you're a person that's buying American, and there are people that do, that insist on buying American-made, well, this is an instrument that then you can look at because it is made in Pennsylvania. Now, it is excellent in playability, it's excellent in sound, and it's not as ornate, for example, as the Model 3 or the Model 5 yet. We didn't even talk about the Model 5 earlier. With that in mind, the binding gives it away that you're not just playing a Model 1 or a C1K, which is really Martin's entry-level concert at this point, other than the OXK concert. For a solid wood instrument, that C1K is really where they're starting these days. That binding gives away that you're not looking at that. And if you want to buy the Koa version of that, well, again, that's, I think, $1,700. If you want to start there with a new model today, this model isn't available. Now, I think that Martin did make this instrument better with the Grover tuners. I just noticed that on their $2,300 FSC approved concert ukulele without the binding, that's $2,300 for that, your fair trade woods and everything, that's guaranteed that the rosewood and the mahogany meet those standards of the FSC. That $2,300 ukulele comes with the plastic Graphtec geared tuners. They're wonderful, don't get me wrong. I've got them on a couple ukuleles and I like them, but for an instrument of that price, you think that you'd have Gotos up there or something like that, like the Dare Young UPTs or the Gotos up there instead. But hey, that's okay. I love these. Now again, there are going to be purists that hate this. I'm not that purist. I love Martins. I love my Martins. I'm not going to get rid of them. They're going to go with me for my entire life and then be passed to my children. But at this point, that doesn't make me angry. Some people get actually angry at that, heated under the collar. I don't think it's worth that, but nonetheless, it makes it much, much more enjoyable to tune and therefore to play, in my opinion. Now, I'm very lucky to own this instrument. If you find one for a great price, absolutely buy it. It's highly, highly, highly recommended if you can find one for a good price. Now, what rating would I give it? Well, even though it's an expensive ukulele, right? Starting at $1,250 used in 2022 for one of these, a lot of people are going to go another direction and save hundreds and buy a solid mahogany of some other kind. Understandable, understandable. But if you're looking for the Martin experience with a USA-made Martin, this is really the place to go. And I can't get through a Martin video with a mahogany instrument without mentioning this. They have a smell. You take them out of their case, and this one again does come with a case. They have this smell, this mahogany smell inside of them that none of my other solid mahogany ukuleles have. I can't explain it. It's got to be something they're using to treat it. But there's a unique smell, and it's also true of my Mexican-made Martin S1 as well, which that review is on this channel as well if you're interested. All right, so what would the score be? It has to be a 5. This has to be a 5.0. Now, if you want to knock it yourself down to a 4 because it's so expensive, understandable. I'm not going to argue with that. But there are things in life that are worth spending money on, and this is not a bad one for an instrument that will last you for your lifetime. However, if you live in an area like I do, where the humidity drops at times of the year, right now, we're just switching over to that part where I need to start humidifying my ukuleles as the humidity starts to become 40% relative humidity where the ukuleles are stored. I have to start humidifying these. You do need to take care of these a little bit. They do require some maintenance. If you want a maintenance-free Martin, look at that OXK concert that's out there right now. All right, so that's our review of the Martin 2. Thanks for watching it. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.